Hello students, today we are going to start with types of computer. In the previous session, we have already done the generation of the computer, and before that we have done the advantages and disadvantages of the computer and its uses. So we know what are the advantages of a computer, how versatile it is. We know how it is developed from computing machines to artificial intelligence as concept. So all these are known to us. Today we will start doing the types of computer. So there are nowadays in this generation we have many types of computers. So and their uses. So the first one is personal computer. So personal computer or PCs is the single user computer system having moderately powerful microprocessor. We know the circuitry from the last class that the circuitry of the fourth generation computer is microprocessor. So PCs are the example of it. So single user computer system having moderately powerful microprocessor, it is the PC. So we have PCs or personal computers in our home, in our workplaces, which we use personally. It's a one single end computer, single user. The second type is workstation. It is also a single user computer similarly to the personal computer. However, it has a more powerful microprocessor so that it can process more quickly, or the speed of the processor is increased here. Then comes the mini computer. It is a multi-user computer system capable of supporting hundreds of the users simultaneously. So mini computer is a multi-user computer system. So we know PCs and workstation, as it is the single user, mini computer comes into multi-user computer system. Mainframe is also a multi-user computer system capable of supporting hundreds of users simultaneously. Software technology is different from the mini computer. So the mini computer and mainframe computer, as they both support the multi-user computer system, but the software technology is different. Now comes the supercomputer. It is extremely fast computer which can execute hundreds of millions of instructions per second. So when we are using fastest, we are now talking about the fastest computer, we will talk about supercomputer. So its speed was extremely high. It was in picoseconds, or we can say nanosecond or picoseconds, the instructions, thousands of instructions per second it can execute. Now comes, how does a computer work? So in the first lesson only, we have a little bit discussed about the working style of the computer, that is its work on the IPO cycle. So what a IPO cycle is? IPO cycle is input, process and output cycle. We all know a computer is mainly work on three steps. The data input, we input data, it was processed, then it is stored. Okay, it was processed, then stored, and again go to the output. Or it is the data process and it gives the output. It can store, if we save the data, it cannot store. So it has mainly the three part: data input, processing and data output. So in between it can store it, and there is a unit which control everything, the whatever will go in the cycle, whether the data will go to the storage or it will go to the output device, whether the input will be processed now or it will be processed later. So a controlling device is also there. So what is the operation of the computer? It takes the input. The process of entering data and instruction into the computer system is called the data input. Okay, so we are giving the data through the input devices. There are lots of input devices, we know, keyboards, mouse, scanners and all that. So through it we enter the data and instruction into the computer. Then it stored the data, saving the data and instructions so that they are available for processing and when they require. First we store the data so that it can process it. There is a place where we can store it and then go to the processor, and after processing, if we need, we can save the data for the future use. That is the storing of data. Processing is divided into mainly three parts. The processing is divided into three parts, that is arithmetical unit, logical unit and control unit. So we will discuss it vividly in another part of the session, but here processing means performing arithmetical and logical operations first thing, and in order to convert them into useful information. So we are processing data in the processing part or the CPU part, we can, where the central processing unit of the computer is, performing arithmetical and logical operation on the data in order to convert it into useful information. After converting it into useful information, the output process started. The output, the process of producing useful information or result for the user. It is to give the user the information is the output, such as printed report or visual display. Now control and workflow. Direct the manner and sequence in which all the above operations are performed. So there is a control unit which will direct, if we input the data from the input device, where it is where it will be going, and from the processing where it will be going. So all these controlling of the work will be done by the control unit. Now in the central processing unit, in the processing part, as we are discussing previously, it is divided into three parts. Okay, we input data, it is coming to the CPU part or the central processing unit. Okay, and here it is processed and going to the output device. Now how it is processing? There is a control unit, we already known to us. It will control the flow of data, and there is a arithmetical logical unit which will process the data, and there is a memory unit which will store the data. So input device is giving the data, the processing unit in the CPU, we have control unit which will control where the data will go. Either it will go to the memory unit or arithmetical logical unit, ALU. So it will control it and process it. In this part it will process it and it will give the output. Now in this processing, this is the diagram we have seen, it's a block diagram. Whatever the thing or the accessories or the component of the CPU required. Here we can see the CPU, it's a speaker, that is the output device, monitor is the output device, keyboard and mouse are the input device. These are output and input device connected to the CPU. Now in this CPU, all these accessories are there to conduct the processing. The first and the main thing was the power supply. It supplies the power to the CPU. Okay, so there need to be a processing unit. The electricity supply is there, so this is the power supply unit. Then comes DVD-ROM. We know there is a DVD-ROM from where we play the storage part, external storage unit. We play, or we can store here from the memory of the computer. Now this is the motherboard. This is the main circuit of the CPU. So from here all the circuitry was done. So this is the motherboard. Then comes the hard disk. Here the storage part is done. The hard disk is here. This is CPU. Okay, and CPU fan. So CPU fan is to control the temperature inside the CPU. RAM, we all know it's a random access memory. So the first thing, when we are input the data, it first go to RAM and then for the processing. So it's random access memory. Then the VGA cards where we can get all the things done. Then the sound card for the sound, hard disk for the storing, and this is the as a modem reader which will connect the computer to the external storage. So this is the thing how it is attached in a CPU. It is how it is attached in a CPU. This is the power supply attached here. Fan, microprocessor fan is attached after this where the box ended. Okay, so this is the microprocessor. This is the motherboard. In the motherboard we have RAM, microprocessor. This is video card we have seen. This is sound card. This is hard disk. This is CD drive and casing. This is the box we have. So this is all the CPU. Inside the CPU, the parts or the components are arranged in such a manner. So what is the components we got? We got a fan, CPU fan, which will regulate the temperature, the memory card which will store the information, the power supply, the DVD burner which will burn a store, or we can store from outside. We can input the data, stored data to the computer, or we can store the data into the DVD. So it's both way traffic here. This is the hard disk where we store the data inside the CPU for the future use, and this is the motherboard. All these accessories are arranged like this in the motherboard. This is the processor. Okay, so this is the microprocessor, and these are the video card arrange in here. There is a sound card not shown here. There will be a sound card that will be arranged here. So these are the components of the CPU, we can say, the processing units. So this session what we learned about different types of computers, and what we learned about the components, how the computer work, and the components of the CPU or the processing unit. So for this, thank you very much. This is up to here. Bye.